ahead and kind of get the initial overview. As most of you know, RapidDeploy is a vendor there throughout the state. And so what we'd like to do here is have him kind of give an overview of where they're at with the Radius V4, and then about 10 or 15 minutes of that. And then I'd like to give kind of an overview of how OnStar fits into the mix, and then happy to take questions at the end. So Jonathan, if you want to share your screen and start off with the roadmap of how we got here, I'll hand it over to you.
Sure, thanks, Mark. And thank you guys also again for giving us a spot here just to kind of showcase a little bit of some of the changes and updates that have happened with Radius Plus and our partnership with OnStar. So really quick, I want to talk about some of the updates that have occurred in Radius Plus. The first, some of the enhancements we're going to talk about is active call information. It's easy to find and it's grouped together in one location right next to the call, including your ability to do SMS chat, location updates, as well as additional data. We have vehicle crash telematics from OnStar, which I want to show you here shortly, and also improved accessibility with bigger font sizes and use of colors. We have more real estate for the map, which is a woohoo moment for me, and also the ability to search and view all PSAP calls that are open and closed, and also a new signal queue that I want to introduce you to. So I want to take just a moment to go through those settings with you and make sure you're very familiar with them. So let's jump right into it. Share my screen. As you've noticed, the first thing that happens when you log into Radius V4, if you haven't logged in, it's going to ask you for your agent position. This is where you're going to set your position. And really your position is your phone console position, so that anytime you're answering 911s, that any alley information will automatically plot into your Radius Plus map. Now, if you notice, it has changed a little bit. Some of your things that were at the very top is now moved. We actually have your agent position now located on the left hand. It's called your navigation bar here. You have your ESRI options. If you are a system administrator, you have ESRI options and also settings options that you can actually go into and make any kind of admin changes. You also have a question, little circle there. That is your option for Zendesk to get online help for any questions or articles you may want to read about within the Radius platform. Going down, you see a little connection option here. Just shows you that you are connected. If it is orange, it is attempting to reconnect. And if it is red, it is completely disconnected. And so all that does is make sure that you're receiving your anti-alley information as you're processing 911s. We still have your profile visible here, as well as the logout option. And again, Google Chrome is our preferred browser for utilizing Radius Plus. So I want to make sure you have access to that. So I'm going to go ahead and simulate a call as it comes in and just show you how it works in the system. I've already set my agent position, and this is a call that's coming into my console. I've actually answered this line. So just to point out some things to you that are standard, but it looks a little different with the upgrade here, is that you have your what's called a call drawer that actually opens up. So when I answered that 911, it automatically opened up that drawer for me so I could see all of my calls, details, and information that's related to it. I have the address information. If you notice right here, here's my phone icon, just indicating this is a phone call that was answered. If it was a mobile device, it would show me the mobile information, as well as if it was a OnStar, you'll see a car icon there. You still have the ability to do your rapid locate to that phone number, which is great. You can still do that option as well. You have all of your location information, your what 3 words, your latitude, degrees, minutes, and seconds, all the way down to your Google Plus codes. And at the bottom down here, this is where we talked about everything is grouped together. Initially, you had everything at a top ribbon at the top, but it's grouped together for your SMS chat, and you can chat with the various languages, up to 70 plus languages here. It automatically detects the language of that device, so you don't have to worry about knowing how to speak Spanish. It'll actually translate into the Spanish for you. And then the next thing over that's really important I want to show you is your location timeline. Your location timeline actually shows you all of the updates. You know how your system does anti-alley rebids? whether it's automatic through your CPE or if it happens as me as a 911 operator, I'm pressing that button to refresh my update, my location. This is where you're going to pay attention now to the location timeline. So let me just send a few more signals in here. I have my breadcrumbs turned on. They're called location breadcrumbs. So it shows me all of the updates where they're happening, and I get these icons on the map. It shows me the one that's colored blue is my current location. And if you scroll down your timeline here, you'll see that it's focused on the most recent location here. It'll have it highlighted in blue, all that great information. It shows you the address here, it shows you the source, and it shows you the last updated time that this was received. So you will see as you're mousing over or clicking on these icons that's on the map, your timeline will update to that. So that saves you a lot from having to look at icons on your map, clicking on that little icon for it or the pen for it to open up a screen, saves your real estate on your map. Really quick, going down, additional data here. We're going to talk about that in just a second when I do an OnStar signal, but it also shows you your Apple and your Google signals that come in, and also any additional data that's from Apple. Basically, that will be any kind of medical information that a person is providing you. And then you also have from OnStar the crash telematics for that vehicle. So you'll have that available as well. You still have your ability to do your search here. This is just like it was previously. You can type in the address information and it will allow you to do a search on your map, your data. And speaking of your maps, let me just show you some highlights of it really quick. You have your layers that you can choose from, like traffic. You can also turn on traffic incidents so you can see what side of the road that incidents are occurring on, as well as I have Esri. If I submit any Esri layers here, it would allow me to use any of these Esri layers that are available to me. And then my base map is also going to show up, and I have various layer information I want to use for base map. One of my favorite, if you're using it, is called Open Streets. It lets you zoom in. It has things on there like the names of parking lots. It also shows you the arrows if you're on a one-way street, building numbers. So it's a great way just to having additional data at your fingertips. But going back, I just want to show you really quick. When I did that location update here, it showed me all of my timeline updates there for that location. So every CPE update that came in, it's plotting on the map where it occurred. And you'll see these locations show up in the timeline here. So this is a great way to see all of your locations that occurred on this call. What I want to point out to you really quick is under the My Calls section here, you have a queue option here. And what this does is it shows you any cues or signals that have dropped in your area. Now, you know, a signal is where someone is trying to call 911 and say their call had a failure and it did not make it to your center. Now, I just happen to be focused in on the area where this one fell, but if you don't see it on your map, you can always click the button here and it will zoom you into the location of where that signal is. Now, I'm currently looking at a call. I can close this call out. If I'm done, you know, reviewing that call, whatever else I need to do, your signals here will allow you to zoom in on the location. You can see the information behind here. You still have the ability to request additional information. It's a nice way of quickly seeing if someone needs help or if you need to call them back. If you notice now, my signal was grayed out, but now it has the ability for me to accept it. And also this convert to call will also blacken in for me to start a call to see where this person is. I can call them back on the phone. I have the signals location, all that great information there. Last thing I want to show you real quick before I turn over to Mark is just how we are partnered with OnStar and the information that you're going to see as those calls are coming in. So again, in that queue section down here, this is where you'll see that signal being received. Here's the location of where it is. I can click on the call or the icon here. I see everything from latitude, longitude. I see the street address associated with it. I can also say show additional information, and it would show me all the additional information about the vehicle. You've got your interaction ID. That's the number that you're going to provide OnStar as you're receiving information from them. The year, make, and model of the vehicle. You'll have that information. And then let me show you how it actually shows up when you actually convert this signal into a call. Same thing you saw before when I answered that call. It opened up my call drawer with everything associated here. I can do the additional data option here. And under additional data, I just want to show you what happens is it will show me all of the crash telematics for that call. Sorry, I hit refresh, I didn't mean to do that. But it will show you all of the details related to the vehicle and everything related to the crash telematics. I have the phone number here directly to OnStar if I need to call them about it. Here's my interaction number. I can provide them all the details about the vehicle. Here's my crash details. There's any fuel, if someone's in the front vehicle, if it's a automatic car versus someone driving it. So everything is there related to the details for that vehicle. So we've partnered with OnStar, and I'm going to turn over to Mark to talk a little bit more about that partnership and how we will provide that information to your 911 center.
Thanks, Jonathan. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Oh, it's telling me you have to unshare. There we go. Okay. Did that screen come up for everybody? Oh, here we go. All right. So one of the reasons we're here today, and I've been on your guys' call, you know, in the past talking about we've got some exciting stuff coming up here in the very near future. Well, the future's here now. May 26th, we went live with this data, and we kind of wanted to see some of it in action before we really started talking about it. And we also wanted to be able to show you, you know, what we're doing in real time as opposed to what we might be doing. So I wanted Jonathan to give that overview. If you're not using the Radius Plus in the call center, please consider it. There's a lot of good information coming through there. We are the only telematics providing data to RapidDeploy that will then share into the call center. And so I kind of want to just give an overview of OnStar and the information we're receiving, and then how we got to where we are today with RapidDeploy. We like to start off with, you know, this picture here tells a lot. The vehicle hit nearly head on, airbags deployed, can't see into the vehicle. This actually happened in upstate New York. Several calls into 911, they must be injured, they have to be injured. The vehicle was hit head on. Come to find out, no injuries. Both occupants were seat belted. We're able to exit the vehicle and just needed a police officer for the report and a tow truck to clean up the scene. So, you know, additional data tells a lot of the story that we don't know in just the initial pass by. So when that information comes into OnStar, this is what our advisors see when that crash happened. All of this information populated within the OnStar call center. And so as you can see, we get quite a bit of data. A lot of it we share with you, and in a later slide, I'll go over those data elements. But obviously for privacy reasons, there's things that we don't share with you, the owner's name or contact number in the data push. Obviously on the phone contact, we can share some of that information if you needed to contact them directly. But from OnStar's perspective, this information comes in, and we have a lot of good information here. We have the exact point on the map. We're very accurate with our longitude and latitude and location services within the vehicle. And I do want to caution, we're only sending the automatic crash data right now. If somebody presses a red button for help, that's not going to RapidDeploy in California. But if a crash comes in, it's automatically going to RapidDeploy and then being routed into Radius. But we have great information here related to make, model, year, and color, fuel type, and then we have what we call injury severity prediction. And that's only high in 3% of our crashes, but it is still important to have that information coming in. We also have a proprietary database, so we know the exact, from the location of the crash, the exact call center that 911 call should go into. And in a lot of cases in California, we're routing through the 911 trunk, so you're getting that anti-alley of the crash that will coincide with the mapping piece, and then some other automatic crash pieces that I'll talk more about as we get further into this. So if you're not familiar with OnStar, it's not all GM vehicles that have OnStar. They obviously have to have some type of subscription or active service plan with us. And we have to have cellular connectivity, and the vehicle still has to have battery power. So OnStar is equipped on all General Motors vehicles, GMC, Chevy, Buick, and Cadillac. But if they're not connected with us or they're not utilizing the service, these crash indicators do not come in. So that information comes into us. In the past, it would go to our emergency call centers, one in North Carolina and one in Oshawa, Ontario, Canada. If it's a call in the United States, they go to North Carolina unless it needs to fail over to Canada for call volume. And the similar happens, calls go to Canada first and then fail over, but we treat all the same. So now that additional data from that crash, instead of just going into our call center and us making a voice call and trying to verbally relay that information, as Jonathan showed, it goes into RapidDeploy's Radius V4 and allows the dispatcher to take a look at that and see that there's some information coming through that may indicate what type of services may be needed on scene. One of our examples that we've given and we show, if you've seen one of our presentations, is a lot of people are in very rural areas, and sometimes an air ambulance might be the only way to transport. This information could be vital in determining if that's needed based on the information that you're receiving. But even with the data going into RapidDeploy, we're still triaging the call. We're still EMDing the call. We're ACE accredited through the IAED. We use the MPDS protocols and EMD every call. And we're still contacting your call centers within 30 to 45 seconds of that data arriving. And all we're trying to do is have a manner in which that data can arrive and you guys can use it, as opposed to trying to a dispatcher who's already maybe overwhelmed with a high call volume, trying to take all that information and put it into the CAD or write it down. Now they have it right in front of them. And we're happy to have them tell us, hey, I have the data. I don't need you to go over it again. I am seeing the same thing you are. So it's great to have that ability to send it in to the call centers. So I'll touch quick on the additional data points. If you're familiar with VEDS, you know there's over 100 pieces of data that can be sent. We sat down and we really looked at what is the most vital information to not overwhelm and to make sure we're driving the point home. And these are the pieces that we identified at General Motors, OnStar. Obviously, as this works through, there might be some that we need to add. There might be some that are not as valuable, but it's something that we're constantly evaluating. And these are the ones we chose to start with. Obviously, location is huge. You know, we want to have the most exact and up-to-date location as we can. We've worked extensively with Cal OES and RapidDeploy to make sure all of us have the same boundary files. We maintain our proprietary database and make sure we have ours up to date as well. Jonathan mentioned the interaction ID or incident number. That's if your center had to call OnStar, that's how we would relay the call back. It's important to have the receive time and the sent time, really just when the crash happened and then how long it took to send. That's usually within a second or two of each other. It's still important to have to make sure that that information's flowing through. As mentioned, make, model, year, and color are huge, especially if you're getting a lot of calls in a busy area. Help narrow that down. And then something unique for us in California, if you're familiar in the Bay Area, you know, we have a lot of our autonomous out there, but electric, hybrid electric, or internal combustible engine vehicles are out there. I mentioned that crash data, whether it's a high probability of severe injury, has there been an airbag deployment, principal direction of force, and has the vehicle been struck more than once? And when I mention autonomous in the Bay Area, those are still manned vehicles. We don't have any of our autonomous vehicles without anybody in them at this moment. That day is coming, but still very important to know if it's an autonomous vehicle, if you're responding to a crash, to know if there are any occupants inside. So Jonathan gave an overview. My screen here, I apologize, I haven't had a chance to just update this slide to the app post-launch, but I do have the as I've been informed by a few people, I have a pretty good address on there on Figueroa. I'm not really sure what restaurant that is, but I've been informed it's a pretty happening place. But that information that Jonathan was sharing, as you can see on the left-hand side, there's a vehicle that is only going to be OnStar data. It's the only data they're sharing from telematics. A few other important things to note: if a call center does not have OnStar in the system for quick dial back, that's our emergency number there. That'll get you right into our emergency advisors without having to go through anybody else. We encourage call centers to program that number and have it available, but that's the direct dial into OnStar. All of that information that I had mentioned is there within the screen, has all of the items needed if you needed to call into us. But as I caution, our call is coming within 30 to 45 seconds. If you're not familiar with OnStar, that first advisor will answer the call of the crash, and if they determine there's injuries, then they will immediately bring on a second advisor who will stay with that member who's injured all the way through till EMS arrives. And the first advisor is then our conduit for the ECC to make sure that we're relaying all the pertinent information if we're doing CPR or whatever the case may be. And then the other item on here that we're very happy to have is, again, is it an EV? Do you have to extricate somebody from an electric vehicle? And all the concerns that come with that. So it's a huge step to have this information in front of the dispatchers there in California. If you're not very familiar with OnStar, I offer to go to the public safety website that we have, publicsafety.onstar.com. There is a newsletter. It only goes to public safety. It only goes out 3 to 4 times a year. We don't share your information with anybody else. But that newsletter is very telling of what OnStar is working on, future technologies, what's happening right now. We've got two of the last 2 newsletters at the end of 20 and the beginning of 21. We talked extensively about our California approach, how excited we are that California took the steps to really take next gen from start to finish as opposed to piecemealing it together. We've had a great relationship with Budge Courier there and his team. And so if you go to that website and sign up for that newsletter, you won't be disappointed. You'll be on the front edge of front lines of what's coming from OnStar. There's also an opportunity on there. It is onstarvirtualevents.com. We've created a virtual environment where you can, if you go to the desk and click on information, you can see all of our contact information for all of our outreach leaders. There's breakout sessions on stolen vehicle, breakout sessions on automatic crash, how OnStar works, a 1-hour continuing education, and then there's a great 7-minute video on there about what we're doing in California and really explaining the relationship we have with RapidDeploy and this ambitious project that is the first of its kind that we know of. So very excited to be a part of this. I look forward to getting out to California. I don't think I'm going to get out there until October, but just very happy to know that, you know, California stepped up in so many ways to make sure that Next Gen 911 was in the forefront. And the long-term goal here, we're getting this into the call centers today, but we envision this being important not only in the call center or in the secondary PSAP where fire services can view this information, but eventually into the emergency room so the doctors that are triaging patients can see this information as well and make decisions prior to them arriving. So, you know, it's great to have the additional data, but it's worthless unless you have an avenue to share it. And California has given us that avenue through RapidDeploy to share this information and get it into first responders' hands. And really, really appreciate the time today. Happy to answer any questions you guys may have.